Today, whenever people talk about electric cars, the biggest question is how long it takes to charge the battery. Many people say that if charging takes so much time, how can EVs ever offer the same convenience as petrol or diesel vehicles? But what if, instead of charging the battery, you could simply replace the entire battery in just a few minutes? That is the idea behind NIO's battery swap technology. The company claims that within just a few minutes, your empty battery can be removed and replaced with a fully charged one. It sounds simple, but can this technology really become the future of the EV industry? Or will it remain limited to only a few countries? Is it easy to build such a large battery swap network? Who will pay for the cost? And will other major car companies ever follow the same path? In today's video, we will understand NIO's battery swap technology from every angle in simple language. We will look at its advantages, its biggest challenges, and whether this technology can really change the future. Before we move further into this video, make sure to subscribe to Gear Nation so you never miss videos like this. The problem with charging. Today, if someone is planning to buy an electric car today, the biggest concern is usually the time it takes to charge the battery. With a petrol or diesel vehicle, you can stop at any fuel station, fill the tank in about 5 minutes, and continue your journey. But with an EV, the experience is still not the same everywhere. The second major concern is range anxiety. It is the fear that the battery might run out before reaching the destination. If you only drive between home and the office within the city, this may not feel like a big problem, but as soon as you plan a long trip, many people start looking for charging stations in advance. If there are only a few stations on the route or they already have long queues, the entire travel plan can be affected. Another challenge is that public charging facilities are still not equally available everywhere. Charging stations are increasing rapidly in big cities, but many smaller towns and several highway routes still do not have enough charging infrastructure. That is one reason why many people still consider petrol and diesel vehicles more reliable for long-distance travel. There's also a major issue for people who live in apartments. Not everyone has the option of installing a charger in their own parking space. If home charging is not convenient, going out every day just to charge the car can become a hassle for many owners. This brings up an important question. What if, instead of charging an EV, the entire battery could be replaced within just a few minutes? Could that solve many of these problems? This very idea is what has made NIO's battery swap technology a topic of discussion around the world. How NIO's battery swap technology works. Now, the question is, how does NIO's battery swap technology actually work? Does it really replace the entire battery? Or is it just a marketing claim? The answer is yes. In this system, the car's entire battery is replaced, and the process takes place inside a dedicated battery swap station. When an NIO car arrives at the station, the first step is for the car and the station to connect with each other. The system identifies the vehicle, checks which model it is, and confirms the type of battery installed. After that, the car automatically moves into the correct position. The driver does not have to move the car back and forth to line it up. From that point, the robotic system takes over. The car is lifted slightly, and the battery mounted underneath is carefully removed. A fully charged battery that is already available at the station is then installed in its place. The entire process is handled by machines instead of people so that every battery swap is done accurately and consistently. But simply replacing the battery is not enough. Several important safety checks are carried out afterward. The system verifies that the new battery is properly locked in place, all electrical connections are working correctly, and the car is ready to drive without any issues. Until these checks are completed, the process is not considered finished. The entire procedure usually takes around 3 to 5 minutes. In other words, it takes about the same amount of time that many people spend filling a petrol tank, and the car can return to the road with a fully charged battery. However, the actual time can still depend on station conditions, traffic, and system availability. From the user's point of view, the experience is kept very simple. There's no need to wait 30 or 40 minutes for charging. If a suitable battery is available at the station, the journey can continue within just a few minutes. However, this system works well only when there are enough battery swap stations nearby, and each station has charged batteries of different capacities available. That is why the success of this technology depends not only on the car, but also on the entire infrastructure. Why NIO chose battery swap over fast charging? Now the question is, when most EV companies around the world are focusing on making fast charging better, why did NIO choose the battery swap approach? The biggest reason is the company's long-term vision. NIO does not just want to sell electric cars, it wants to build a system where the battery can be used as a separate service. That idea led to the Battery as a Service, or BAS model. Under this model, customers can buy the car while using the battery through a separate subscription. The biggest advantage is that the initial price of the car becomes lower because the battery is the most expensive part of an EV. By separating the battery cost from the car, buying an EV can become more affordable for many people. Another advantage of this model is flexibility. For example, if you're using a smaller battery today but later need to travel a longer distance, you can choose a larger battery when required. That means there's no need to buy a new car every time. However, which battery options are available depends on the company's policies and the region where the service is offered. The battery ownership model is also different. Normally, when you buy an EV, you own the battery as well. But with NIO's system, many customers do not own the battery. Instead, they pay a monthly subscription to use it. The responsibility for battery maintenance, health, and replacement when needed largely remains with the company's system. This can also reduce concerns about battery wear or losing battery value over time. From the customer's point of view, there are several clear benefits. The initial cost of buying the car can be lower, worries about battery failure are reduced, and upgrading to newer battery technology in the future can become easier. However, all of this is practical only if there is a strong battery swap station network nearby. This is also part of NIO's long-term strategy. The company is not just selling cars. It wants to build a complete ecosystem by connecting batteries, software, and battery swap stations. If this model succeeds on a large scale, it could significantly change the way people use electric vehicles. Key benefits of battery swapping. Now let's talk about the advantages of battery swap technology, which is why NIO has so much confidence in this model. The biggest advantage is saving time. If a swap station is available and a fully charged battery is ready, replacing the entire battery usually takes around 3 to 5 minutes. In many cases, that is about the same amount of time it takes to fill a petrol or diesel vehicle. The second advantage is that you do not have to wait for the battery to finish charging. Fast chargers have become much better today, but charging still takes some time. The main goal of battery swap is to reduce that waiting time. For people whose daily work depends on staying on schedule, this can be a very useful feature. Another important advantage is better health management. When the battery is part of the company's network, it can be inspected, charged, and maintained more efficiently. Faulty batteries can be identified and removed at the right time, and a replacement battery can be provided whenever needed. This means users do not have to worry as much about the condition of their battery all the time. This model can also be helpful for people who travel long distances. If enough swap stations are available along the route, drivers can continue their journey with a fresh battery instead of waiting for the car to charge. However, this completely depends on how many stations are available on that route. Battery swap could offer one of its biggest benefits to commercial vehicles, taxi services, and delivery fleets. These vehicles need to stay on the road for as long as possible. If they do not have to stop for long charging sessions, both their productivity and earnings can improve. There can also be some benefits when it comes to maintenance. Since the battery is monitored and managed through the company's system, some battery-related responsibilities are reduced for the owner. In addition, if better technology becomes available in the future, it may be easier to upgrade by replacing the battery instead of buying an entirely new car. That is why many people see battery swap not just as a convenient feature, but as a completely different way of using electric vehicles. The biggest challenges facing this technology. Battery swap technology may sound simple, but making it successful in the real world is much more difficult. That is one of the main reasons why only a few companies are working on this model at a large scale today. The first major challenge is the cost of building a battery swap station. A station that includes robotic systems, battery storage, charging equipment, and complete safety features is much more expensive than installing a regular EV charging station. The second major challenge is battery inventory. Building the station alone is not enough. Every station also needs to keep several fully charged batteries ready so that customers can get a replacement immediately when they arrive. This means the company has to invest in a large number of batteries as well. In other words, the cost is not just for the station, but also for the batteries that must always be available. The third challenge is space. A battery swap station needs much more than a simple parking area. It requires extra space to store batteries, charge them, and operate the robotic system. In large cities where land is already expensive, building these stations quickly is not an easy task. Another major technical challenge is standardization. Today, almost every car company uses its own battery design, size, and vehicle platform. If every brand has a different battery, one battery swap station cannot serve all vehicles. That is why battery swap is currently limited to only a few selected companies. Limited brand support is another important challenge. If only one or two companies adopt this technology, the number of customers using the stations will also remain limited. As a result, it may take much longer for companies to recover their investment. Then comes the challenge of infrastructure expansion. Building a few stations in one city is one thing, but creating thousands of stations across an entire country or in multiple countries is a much bigger project. It requires time, money, and continuous investment. Finally, the biggest question is profitability. After making such a large investment, can the company earn enough revenue over the long term? If not enough customers use the stations or battery usage remains low, recovering the costs could become difficult. That is why the real test of battery swap technology is not just the technology itself, but also its business model. Only if both succeed together can this system become a sustainable solution on a large scale. Why are Tesla, BYD, and others staying away from this model? Now the question is, if battery swap technology sounds so promising, why aren't Tesla, BYD, and other major EV companies adopting it on a large scale? The answer is not just about the technology, it is also about the different business strategies followed by each company. Let's first talk about the fast charging strategy. Tesla, BYD, and many other companies believe that if charging times continue to get shorter and charging networks keep expanding, there will be less need for a separate battery swap system. That is why these companies have invested more in fast chargers and new battery technologies instead of building battery swap stations. Tesla is the biggest example of this approach. The company has built its own supercharger network across many countries. Tesla's goal has been to make fast charging easily available wherever its customers travel. In this model, there's no need to replace the entire battery. The same battery is simply recharged and continues to be used. Another major reason is battery design differences. Today, every company uses different battery packs, different sizes, and different technologies based on its own design requirements. Many companies also make the battery a structural part of the vehicle to improve strength and reduce weight. With this type of design, removing and replacing the battery again and again is not an easy process. From a manufacturing point of view, battery swap is also not simple. If a company wants to adopt this system, it has to design its vehicles differently from the very beginning. Along with that, it also needs thousands of swap stations and a large number of extra batteries. In other words, it is not just about building cars. An entirely new infrastructure also has to be created. If we compare the costs, many companies believe that building a fast charging network is more practical in the long run. On the other hand, the battery swap model requires a huge investment in stations, robotic systems, and additional batteries. Customer adoption is another important factor. Not every customer likes the idea of a battery subscription model. Many people prefer to own the same battery that comes with their car. That is why customer preferences in different markets also influence the strategies of car companies. This is the reason why the EV industry is currently moving in two different directions. On one side, companies like NIO are expanding battery swap technology. On the other side, Tesla, BYD, and many other major brands are focusing on making fast charging even better. It is still too early to say which model will become the most successful around the world. It is quite possible that in the future, both technologies will continue to grow side by side, depending on different customer needs in different markets. Can battery swapping become the future of commercial vehicles and taxis? If battery swap technology has the potential to benefit anyone the most, it may not be private car owners, but commercial vehicles. That is because taxis, delivery vans, and large commercial vehicles earn more money the longer they stay on the road. If they have to stop for a long time to charge, it directly affects both their work and their income. Let's start with taxi fleets. A taxi spends the entire day picking up and dropping off passengers. If it has to stop for 30 or 40 minutes to charge, it earns nothing during that time. But if the battery can be replaced in just a few minutes and the vehicle is back on the road, valuable time can be saved. That is why many people believe battery swap could be very useful for taxi operators. The same idea applies to ride-sharing services. Drivers who aim to complete as many trips as possible throughout the day always benefit from less downtime. However, this is practical only if enough battery swap stations are available across the city. Delivery vans can also benefit from this technology. Vehicles used by e-commerce and logistics companies travel many kilometers every day. If the battery can be replaced quickly, deliveries can continue with fewer interruptions. This can also make daily operations easier to plan. Many companies are also exploring battery swap for heavy commercial vehicles. However, the batteries used in large trucks are much bigger and heavier, so the technical challenges are also greater. But if practical solutions are developed in the future, battery swap could become more common in long-distance freight transport. Another advantage of battery swap could be seen in 24/7 operations. Businesses that keep their vehicles running day and night know that every minute matters. If downtime is reduced, the entire fleet can be used more efficiently, which may also help lower operating costs in some situations. Government support can also play an important role. If a country provides policy support, land, or other incentives for building battery swap stations, the technology can expand much faster. But without that support, building a large-scale network will not be easy. That is why the success of battery swap in the commercial sector depends not only on the technology itself, but also on infrastructure and government support. Will battery swap define the future of the EV industry? Now, the biggest question is whether battery swap technology can become the future of the entire EV industry, or whether it will remain limited to only a few brands like NIO. No one has a complete answer today because both sides have strong arguments. If we look at NIO, The company is continuously expanding its battery swap station network. China has seen the biggest growth because EV adoption is already very high there, and the country continues to invest heavily in infrastructure. NIO has also tried to expand into several other countries, but every market has different regulations, customer needs, and business conditions. A model that works well in China may not achieve the same success everywhere else. On the other hand, fast charging networks are growing rapidly in many countries. New batteries are charging faster than before, and high-power chargers are becoming more common. Because of this, many companies believe that if charging continues to improve, the need for battery swap could naturally become smaller. In reality, the future will not be decided by technology alone. Infrastructure will also play a major role. If a country builds thousands of battery swap stations, people may adopt this model more easily. But if there are only a few stations, most drivers will probably find fast charging to be the more convenient option. Consumer preference will also be very important. Some people will prefer using the same battery that came with their car, while others may value saving time more than anything else. In the end, not every customer has the same needs. Looking at the next 10 years, it seems unlikely that only one solution will dominate the EV industry. Fast charging may continue to be the stronger option for private cars, while battery swap could play an important role in sectors like taxis, delivery vehicles, and commercial fleets. Both technologies may continue to grow side by side, each serving different needs. Now, the question is for you. If battery swap stations become as common as petrol stations in the future, would people prefer replacing the battery in just a few minutes instead of waiting for charging? Or do you think fast charging will eventually become the real future of the EV world?